Ladies and gentlemen, the DG-58 just caught a severe nerf, and I think it's going to be completely out of the meta. So we need to replace it, and I'm going to tell you the best loadout that you need to use instead. On top of that, we're also going to do a quick review of your perks because there have been some significant changes based off the recent season, and you need to reevaluate what perks you've been using. I originally was going to recommend running either EOD or Battle Hardened because I've been seeing so much lethal spam of the thermobaric grenade. Now, they actually removed the thermobaric grenade. You no longer can select it in your loadout. You can still find it off the ground and use munitions boxes to, recoup it, but you no longer can equip a thermobaric grenade as a lethal loadout. I think they're going to try to take it away as they try to balance it. So with that in mind, what I've recommended is running Mountaineer for perk 1. We've talked about this in the past. If you have to pull your chute as you're jumping off a building, you're just a sitting duck. It's going to allow players to take you out. And on top of that, when you jump with Mountaineer, not only do I have a larger fall distance, I also have a larger partial fall damage threshold, which means I can jump from higher up without taking fall damage, and that fall damage will stop my health regeneration. So perk number 1 is Mountaineer. But first, here at the Warzone Academy, we're all about building good habits in game. But maybe you're trying to break some bad habits in real life. That's where the sponsor of today's video, Fume, can come in hand. Fume is an award-winning flavored air device that helps you break your bad habit in a guilt-free way. Now, when you hear flavored air, you might be thinking, Isaac, a vape? And no, it's nothing like that. There are no batteries, there is no combustion, there is no vapor, there is no harmful chemicals, and there is no addictive things like nicotine. You see, Fume is simply flavored air. And with amazing flavors like crisp mint and orange vanilla, you can help satisfy that oral fixation as you break that habit. Or maybe if the anxiety or the jitters are starting to act up, this is made to fidget with the cool snaps and clicks and the adjustable airflow dials to help calm your nerves and pass the tide. If you or a loved one are trying to kick that bad habit, Fume has served over 300,000 customers, and you could be the next success story. For a limited time, you can use my code IceManIsaac to get the free Fume base, which is that magnetic stand you saw in the video. Head to tryfume.com, that's tryfum.com, and use code IceManIsaac or scan the QR code on your screen to get a free Fume base when you order your journey pack today. A huge shout out again to Fume for sponsoring today's video. Moving on to perk number 2, we actually aren't going to go for double time. Some really sweaty players like double time, but the fact that we can now find permanent tactical sprint boots, not only in bunkers and in black sites, you can also find them randomly across crates across all of Urzikstan. So if we can find the boot, we don't want to have a perk that obviously becomes irrelevant, right? If we have unlimited tactical sprint boots, we don't need double time. So we're not going to go for double time. We're going to go for sleight of hand for more reasons than you think. Obviously, the Kar 98, you sometimes have to reload one by one, or depending on the scope, you reload all 5 at a time. But that allows you to get follow-up shots so much quicker, especially if you're using like the Moors as well. That allows for quicker follow-up shots. But more importantly, the meta dominant SMG right now in the game is the Superi 46. And there are so many builds from a really fast aim down sight strafe to an extremely fast movement speed to even a viable AR build and tac stance build. It is such a viable gun, and there's so many dynamic ways that you can build it. It is the absolute meta, but it only has a 40-round magazine, and you're going to want that sleight of hand so that way you can keep the fire heading down range and not be wasting your time reloading. So sleight of hand is absolutely my recommended perk number 2. Now, if you're interested in checking out all those builds, that was the previous video that'll be linked at the end of today's video. The close range meta will be covered in there. Now, moving on to perk number 3. I am absolutely 100% recommending quick fix to the average player. Now, we've talked about in the past about tempered versus quick fix, and it's not for that reason, okay? We know that quick fix allows us when we put in a plate to immediately start regenerating our health, right? So when compared to tempered, we get more health faster with quick fix. Yes, tempered can sometimes help us get into the fight a little bit faster, but more than that comparison alone, there is such an abundance of vests across the map. They have buffed the spawn rate like you wouldn't believe. And if you ever wander inside of a bunker, there are like dozens of vests. So if you want to find a tempered, a med vest, a ghost vest, they are out there in abundance. So no point in wasting a perk, which you have to commit to the entire match, when more than likely you'll either find a tempered vest through looting within the first few minutes, or you'll find one off a dead body later on. Quick fix is more important, and it cannot be replaced by a vest, so it is my perk number 3. And then moving on to perk number 4. I am not recommending Ghost because for the exact same reason. If you want Ghost, stealth vests are all over the place. I'm recommending Flex. It allows me to hear people not only just behind me, which is what High Alert does. High Alert only tells me when someone else is aiming behind me and is also countered if someone's using Cold-Blooded. But Flex gives me 360 degrees, more audible warning of who's around me, and it also helps me prevents me from dying to things like cluster mines, proxy mines, Claymores. Flex is 100% my go-to. So those are my 4 perks. I pretty much will not stray away from it. If I'm feeling really aggressive, what I'll do is instead of running Quick Fix, I'll consider running Stalker and running that with my Superior Strafe build, and then you are just moving and zooming. But that's more of a high-level player. For the base player, I would recommend, for the average player, I would recommend Mountaineer, Sleight of Hand, Quick Fix, and Flex. And then real quick, over on the tactical and lethal side, there's pretty much nothing else you should run over on the tactical side besides smoke grenades. They help you rotate. Nothing else really comes anywhere near the utility of the smoke grenade. Over on the lethal side, I recommend one of 2. I would either recommend the thermite or the C4. The sticky grenade isn't bad, but they nerfed the sticky grenades both range and overall damage. Same thing for the frag as well. The damage radius has been nerfed. So really, I would recommend either the thermite for the really quick. You obviously, if you stick someone, you will get a guaranteed down. It can also be really nice if someone's 1 HP. You can just throw it against the wall that they're by or throw it at their feet. You'll get the knock. Or the C4 is basically back to Verdansk level of you can throw it far. You can wipe an entire team with 2 C4s. It's like pocket nukes that you're just frisbeeing out. C4s are insane again. So, you might hear me complaining about those in the future. Well, now that we have our tactical, lethal, and all of our perks set up, let's go ahead and talk about the meta because it's going to change. It changed a lot, okay? The DG got nerfed bad. They also, if you guys didn't track, in the Season 4 update, they made it to where airstrikes came in 2 seconds sooner, so they would thirst extremely quickly. They reverted that change. I wish they would have gone halfway in between and just made airstrikes 1 second faster, because sometimes I feel like airstrikes are worthless, but now they're back to the old ways. But the DG is not back to the old ways. This thing is gone. Hey, look at this. The min damage was decreased to 22 instead of 27. So that means at the furthest range, when you were just barely peppering someone, at a minimum, it would do 27 damage. Now it only does 22. That is a massive, massive difference. They also decreased the damage range from 29 meters to 17 meters. And they also added a new damage range as well. They said they felt it was too dominant at range, so they've introduced a gradual damage fall off, which keeps it competitive in those close to mid-range encounters. Okay, first off, close to mid-range encounters don't matter. It's a freaking LMG. It's meant to be dominant at long range. It's bad. It's really bad. I don't know how True Game Data has already updated his site. This is how it is built out, and you will see the Holger 2.6 is what I am comparing it to. Because if you guys remember my previous loadout videos, the Holger 2.6 and the DG-58 were like line on line, almost exactly the same guns in terms of everything from bullet velocity to damage per mag to like even shot locations. It was doing like the exact same amount of damage per bullet. But here's where things really start to fall off. The Holger 2.6, which is what we're going to talk about in today's video, you'll see it does 26 to the legs, 28 to the upper body, and 33 to the head. So 26, 28, 33. The DG now, instead of 26, 28, 33, it only does 22, 24, 26. And that really adds up to a meaningful difference, especially as you can see here, when you're shooting out at those long ranges, it is 170 millisecond difference. The DG is dead, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about its replacement. Okay, we're gonna be looking at 2 different builds here, and I would encourage you to give this one a shot. I know a lot of people don't like iron sight builds, but this actually has extremely clean iron sights, okay? The Holger 2.6, go ahead and make sure bots have on their 3 plates. Shoots very straight. Like, I say it has more recoil than the DG, but the DG, it's COD at the end of the day. None of these guns have a bunch of recoil, and you can see I've been doing a lot of testing, and I have found this to be my favorite build. Now, I'm saying this for like the average player. If you're a little bit more of an advanced player, you might be able to tweak around with this, but I think it has such a clean iron sight. I think most players should rock this, okay? It allows us to get up to 953 meters per second. If you are a little bit more inclined, I'll show you a build here in a second that's going to give you better bullet velocity, but this right here would be my recommended average, like steady iron sight build. Make sure you guys are taking your screenshot. It's the classic brew and heavy support. We have the high grain to give us more bullet velocity, so it's, you know, competent at range, with a flash hider, the Holger factor barrel, and the Ascent Lord stock. Now, if you can't bear the iron sight, we replace the stock with Jack Glassless. Now, it's going to be a little bit shakier, but at the end of the day, I think most people are still going to be able to control that fairly well. It moves a little bit, but I don't think it's anything that the average player wouldn't be able to control. I still think at the end of the day, you're going to be better off with the stock and iron sights, but I would not recommend removing high grain and throwing on the stock, because then that's going to leave you with a very underwhelming 820 meters per second, which will not do you well on big map. There are other alternatives that you could rock instead. Now, we'll go ahead and make sure real quick. This is for the people that prefer an optic. Make sure you're taking a screenshot of this build right here. Now, actually, I do have a second build as well for people who prefer an optic, and I've actually used this to drop gameplays. Like, this will be posted over on my third channel where I post my gameplay. I have used this and done extremely well with it, and it's actually, rather than holding on to high grain, we've held on to the Echoless and we've kept the Ascent Lord stock, and it kind of does the same thing, where I still have great bullet velocity, but still great recoil control. You know, it probably won't shoot as straight as the iron sight, but I think this would be the preferred for the average player who prefers an optic as opposed to the Zim with high grain. This is definitely something you can try as well, and also you will be suppressed, so you'll be out the minimap. It shakes a little bit, but I think you'd be just fine with it. If you want to try a different build with an optic, go ahead and give this one a try as well. Now, we have one more build that I would suggest, and this would be for the sweaty players, people who want a little bit more oomph for their gun. Okay, we're actually going to drop the Zim compensator, and we're going to replace it to try to get even higher bullet velocity. Two options that I would suggest. One could be the Echoless. I really like the Echoless lately because it has firing aim stability, and we know that allows our gun to be a lot more of a straight shooter. You could also try it with the Spirit Fire suppressor. Both of these are going to bring us to over 1,000 in terms of our overall bullet velocity. Both of them, unfortunately, are going to hurt our ADS speed. The Spirit Fire suppressor is going to help us out with recoil, but it doesn't help us out with firing aiming stability. So it's kind of back and forth. You can choose which one you like. The effective damage range is 44 and 47. You're not going to feel the difference there. I've been pretty fond of the Echoless. I can't tell if it's placebo. Just keep in mind, if you are rocking this, you're losing some of that stability that you would have gotten from the Zim compensator, which is, you know, notorious for making our guns feel like they shoot extremely straight. But I mean, I'm hardly having to control that. I think an above average player would easily be able to handle either one of these builds and really take advantage of the fact that that extra bullet velocity is going to allow them to beam people out of the air. Sometimes there's hit reg issues with bots in the firing range. But in general, I just feel like there's more shake with the Spirit Fire. The Echoless, it kind of has that Zim compensator effect where it makes the gun feel... it feels less shaky to me. And this will be my personal recommendation for my go-to Holger 2.6 build for the above average, a little bit more of a sweaty player. Make sure you're taking a screenshot. But ladies and gentlemen, I have a lot of sleeper builds. I've been doing so much testing. I was working on a video today and then they dropped this, and legitimately, I have been spending dozens of hours over the last few days alone. There are so many stealth changes, hidden mechanics, stealth nerfs, some weapons that people don't know about that even in the right hands, situationally, will outperform the Holger 2.6. It will outperform even the pre-nerf DG. And we've got some awesome builds, we've got some awesome guides, we've got some awesome tips and tricks, comments. So make sure you guys are subscribed here with notifications on. If you appreciate the rapid turnaround on the DG-58 and the new meta that is obviously the perks that we mentioned and the Holger 2.6, make sure, do me a favor, drop a like on this video, subscribe for even more, and I will see you all on the next one. Special shout out again to Fume for sponsoring today's video. Peace.